In the Lab, a Texans podcast that takes a different look at things. Drew Dougherty and John Harris have their lab coats and goggles on, and the Bunsen burners burning. Here's Drew.
In the Lab is upon us, and John, it's always fun to do an In the Lab in the season, and it's more fun after a Texans win, and that's what the good guys did on Sunday against the Jaguars. I was not surprised that they won. I was surprised that they put up 37, but I thought, hey, you can beat a rookie quarterback. And all offseason long, you and I have said, I think this offensive line is better. I think this defensive line is better. And the drop-off from Deshaun Watson to Tyrod Taylor, it's significant. Yeah, it's going to be significant pretty much from anybody dropping off from Deshaun Watson, anybody. But Tyrod Taylor can still play, and it's not the precipitous drop that you would have from, say, like back in 2000 when the Cowboys went from Troy Aikman down to in the following years like Chad Hutchinson and Drew Henson and Anthony Wright and so on and so forth. So I think with all that in mind, it's not stunning that they won the game, but I was surprised that they put 37 because we haven't seen that much around here, at all. Certainly in the last 7-8 years.
Yeah, no doubt. And just the numbers that go along with it, the 37 points being the most in an opener, which kind of incredible to think about, but 37 points. And here's the other thing. I know that what people probably saw the box score from around the country, they're like, oh, yeah, Trevor gave him the game, 3 interceptions. Well, they only had 3 points off those 3 interceptions. Yeah. I heard Sean and Seth say this on Tuesday morning as I was listening, driving up, during a tropical storm, listening to him, and I'm thinking, boy, they're dead on about this. And Sean said they left points on the field. I think they would all tell you that. They left points on the field and they scored 37. So they generated 34. I think the thing that was surprising, I tried to think back, okay, what was surprising? What did all of us miss? There are a lot of people that missed a lot of stuff. I don't think we were surprised by how uncomfortable the front four and the pass rush made Trevor. Mm-hmm. I don't think we were surprised that the team played relatively clean, that it's been a focus. I wasn't surprised they played with like relative joy. I mean, there just seemed to be, joy and organization and camaraderie. Yeah. I think the one thing I was surprised with was the number of plays that Tyrod hit down the field. He hit Farrell, I think both. Now he had the one-handed catch, but he also had the other one where he got out of the pocket and found Farrell on a crossing route, and then Farrell dragged guys. There were
the multiple, 2 with Cooks. Yeah,
the 2 to Cooks. I mean, there were at least 4 or 5 plays where they went over 29, 30 yards, which I didn't expect. We do all this offseason work, and we've all in lab work. We're like, okay, who's going to lead the team reception? Okay, we think it's Cooks. Okay, who's second? Who's it going to be? Well, if they re-sign Fuller, well, then Fuller's not going to sign here. Okay, well, then maybe it's going to be these guys. Oh, maybe it's going to be the tight ends. We had no idea it was going to be Danny Amendola, who tied for the team lead with 5 catches.
Yeah.
But it wasn't surprising that it wasn't somebody that was on the roster. We just we could see that there was maybe going to be some move that went with it. We just weren't sure. But that to me was probably the most surprising thing was that they generated plays down the field. I thought this would be very much, just keep chopping away. And there might be periods of that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that. I think we'll see games like that this year.
Yeah, sure. I think we will. I think there might be some games you have to slog through. But hopefully, they can win those games 13-12 or 17-15 or whatever. But they showed they could put some points on the board, which I thought was a really bright thing coming out of that game. They didn't win that thing 7-6 and kind of muddle through. They were offensively efficient in everything that they did for the most part.
Yeah. They had that long, second drive was, a 14-play drive and really chewed up a lot of clock. But 2 things from what you just answered that I think need to be added onto before we get into the Cleveland game. You talked about not really getting any points off those 3 turnovers, 3 points off 3 turnovers. I mean, that's almost inexcusable it's certainly inexcusable in a loss. And it's really, it's not alarming, but it's what every one of those guys, whether it was Culley or any one of those players, every one of them after the game or yesterday on Monday, they all said, we still got a lot to work on. We got a lot to clean up. And that's been a good thing. That's been a refreshing thing to hear. They are not satisfied. They're happy, but they're definitely not satisfied. And so they focused on that's going to be something they got to clean up. And you even saw it in Culley's locker room speech, hey, we still got to clean up a lot of mistakes and we're going to correct them. And then the second thing was the deep ball. That was the big thing in training camp and in preseason. They can't throw the deep ball. It's never going to happen. Tyrod Taylor just can't do it. And Tyrod Taylor said it. He said, it's coming. It'll, just be patient. It's going to be here. It'll happen. And a few of his teammates said it, in the run up, during the preseason. And I think maybe some of us thought that was lip service, and it's just like, it's being said to be said, but he backed it up. He was able to go deep a few times and really open things up. So if he continues to do that, that gives other teams, when they're studying the Texans, more to consider, because I think there's this idea, well, they want to run the ball and this guy can't throw, so let's just stack the box. Well, that's not the case. And we'll see how much that's not the case this weekend, because it's a different test going up to Cleveland, a lot more veteran squad, a lot higher talent on that squad. And we're going to get into that in a sec, but you got a follow-up.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it was really interesting. You just brought up something that struck me, because I thought this early in the game when Shaquille Griffin, second play of the game, jumped that route on the outside. It was the speed out. It's stealing 5 yards, really. And he sat on that sucker. He sat on that route and broke on it and just couldn't hang on to the interception. Man, how different is the game if he comes up with an interception, they score, and boy, it could make the game totally and completely different. And I remember thinking after that, like, man, we're really going to have to back them off, because they're just going to sit low and sit low and sit low, and they're going to get one. And I think it was those deep plays that started backing them off a little bit. And then they started getting some stuff underneath. I think Cooks get that deep ball. They score the touchdown. The next drive, Chris Conley then gets the dig route underneath them. They backed them off like, hey, wait a second. That deep ball's still viable because Cooks can still get downfield. We've got to back up a little bit. And I think that was really what helped them. But that first throw worried me. And that was my exact thought was, dang it, are we going to be able to push it down the field enough to back them off? And they eventually did that. And I think that's going to have to be the MO. Like, look, take what they give you. But if they give you that deep ball, go take it. And week one was a good sign that they went and took it and did a good job doing it.
The older I get, the more unsure I get when people ask me, hey, what do you think is going to happen today? I had, a few coworkers, a few friends, a few fans say, hey, what do you think is going to happen today? I don't know. I think we can win. Nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing at all surprises me. And looking at this game ahead against Cleveland, I don't know. Nothing would surprise me. I mean, what happened last year? You had basically a monsoon blast through in a 4-minute span, and you had to clear everybody out, fans, players included. And then you go out there and you move the ball at will in between the 20s with ease in between the 20s on a really good defense. And then when you get down inside the 20, inside the 10, inside the 5, you bog down and you lose by what? It was a 21-7 type-ish game, but it was really like a one-score game until Nick Chubb broke that long run late. But I just have no idea, because you've got a lot of guys. I mean, they're all extra motivated in comparison to other teams of the past with the Texans because of so many one-year deals. But then you've got this little subset of guys like Tyrod Taylor, Pharaoh Brown. I guess you could throw Eric Murray in there, but former Browns who are on this team I'm sure they've got, I don't want to say axes to grind, but little hatchets to kind of to rub on the whetstone. But they've got a little bit of extra juice, and maybe that doesn't mean a hill of beans, but I do think there is a little something to that. And I'm fascinated by what happens, because they know the personnel clearly, and they know what they're capable of, and they think they're capable of a lot more than maybe a lot of people outside the building think. I can't wait. This is a much better litmus test for where this team stands. And I'm just excited. What do you think is the key as far as what the Texans have to do to slow down this Chiefs team? Well, before you say it, because when I was working in the post game, writing some articles and stuff, I had the Chiefs Browns game up. Yeah. And I saw the Chiefs up, I saw the Browns up big, but never once did I think they were going to pull it off. I mean, I was always of the mind, well, pretty soon Mahomes and company, they're going to go, and they did. and they pulled away and they did what I thought they could do.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Having watched the game, there's that Mahomes Tyreek connection that's been there. This is now the fourth year. Kelsey and Mahomes, same thing, fourth year. Those guys are together. I think what the Browns did a really nice job of was wrecking the pocket a few times for Mahomes. Now, like Patrick, Tyrod can get out of the pocket. If you wreck it, he gets out of there. I mean, the couple of big plays that he made were because he was able to get himself out of the pocket, Houdini-like or David Blaine-like, and go make a play off structure. But he made a lot of plays in structure. And
David Blaine, I like that little reference for the kids. It's fun.
Yeah, change it from Houdini to David Blaine.
I like Houdini sounds cooler. Anyways, go ahead.
I know it does sound cooler, but Houdini Blaine sounds like a Big Ten conference football award they give out. The Houdini Blaine Award goes to Tyrod Taylor. Anyhow, the Browns are extremely athletic, and where they need to be gritty and tough, they are gritty and tough.
This is a different ball of wax in that front seven of the Jags. Golly.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe the best, one of the best in the game in Garrett. And then Clowney, we know what the heck he can do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
and it's deeper. And look, the thing about it is the first play of the game against the Chiefs, I watched number 58 just swallow up this run. I mean, he just whips the guard and just swallows up this run. And I'm like, that's not Christian Barmore, because Barmore went to the Patriots. Like, who is that? And I go look, and it's Malik McDowell. And I'm like, whoa. And if you remember Malik McDowell, he was a guy that had all kinds of issues when he went to Seattle. He had a car accident. He had issues off the field. And the Browns basically picked him up for a song, and he's now starting for them. And he's as athletic as any interior guy the Texans are going to face. You add him to Garrett, to Clowney. They add Anthony Walker from the Indianapolis Colts, Greg Newsome. They draft. They are athletic defensively. But look, they're not fallible. They're not the 72 Dolphins. They're going to make mistakes. And there were times that Mahomes had a ton of time in the pocket where the pass rush just didn't get there. So this is gonna have to be one you slog through, where you establish the line of scrimmage, you hit them in the mouth physically. And that's the one thing the Chiefs were not going to do. The Chiefs just weren't going to hit them right in the mouth. At all. That's not what the Chiefs do. That's not their MO. I think that is our MO up front, especially. And on a defensive side, look, you're going to have to answer that physical offensive line with smart physical play. And then your linebackers can't be jumping out of gaps. There were a couple times, one linebacker in particular jumping out of a gap. You got to play it strong. You got to take on blocks. And then when you're there to make a play, you got to wrap these guys up. Chubb and Hunt are as good after first contact as any two backs you're going to find. And because they can go 1-2, they're always fresh. So you got to match it such that you slow down any direct runway for them. You got to make everything try and bounce, and then give your secondary time to get there and help out, and then team tackle all day long.
Texan to watch for you against the Browns is
Zach Cunningham.
Who?
Zach Cunningham.
Ooh.
I think Zach Cunningham's going to have his hands full. The position he plays asks a lot, because he's got to take on Chubb. He's got to take on Hunt. He's got to fight through blocks up front, but he's also got to be pristine in coverage. The tight ends that the Browns have, Austin Hooper and Harrison Bryant and Njoku. Now he's not matched up on all of them in man-to-man, but he can, and they might ask him to, because you can't get into nickel and dime against these guys, especially in 2nd and 7 or 3rd and 5. They'll just run the ball. They did it against the Chiefs a couple times. The Chiefs went on nickel, and they were like, all right, you got 5 guys up front. We like our numbers count in the box. We'll run it. And they did. So that's where a guy like Zach Cunningham has to play like a safety, like a linebacker, and a defensive end, all wrapped into one. He's the one, to me, he's the one big focus that the Texans defense will have. And he's got to play at a high standard. The second half of the game against the Jaguars, I felt like he played at a Zach Cunningham standard. The first half, it felt like he was kind of just trying to feel his way through, kind of tiptoeing in the dark, And the second half, the light was on and he played. And hopefully he's got to play like that for 60 minutes against these guys for sure.
That's a good choice. I'm going to go with whoever plays right tackle. And that I think you're going to see Marcus Cannon a lot. I think you might see a little Jaron Christian. How's Andy Heck? Is he back? Maybe.
Yeah.
He's on the COVID list. But I'm not worried about Laramie Tunsil. I think he's going to get his against whoever is lining up opposite him. But and we've seen Tunsil play very well against Clowney in the past, if Clowney is indeed over him. But over on that other side, if it's Myles Garrett, I think the Texans will have a nice plan. They're not going to leave these guys on an island, and they're going to have help. That's where Pharaoh Brown, I think, will come in some, and whoever, Anthony Auclair, if he's in the game. But whoever's lining up at right tackle, because we saw a few different faces last game against the Jaguars, and I think you'll probably see that again. Cannon, like David Culley mentioned yesterday, was on a pitch count. They're wanting to keep him fresh, wanting to ramp him back because, he didn't play any preseason games. He just got activated, last week. So big task, and Texans will have a plan, but Myles Garrett is a bit of a plan wrecker, and that's why he's one of the best. That's why he gets paid the way he does, and that's who I'm looking at, Johnny, whoever lines up at right tackle.
That's a good one. I didn't mind the rotation with Marcus and Jerron. I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
You're bringing up Laramie. You can tell that because it's time missed at training camp, Laramie and Titus aren't quite together yet with some of the things that they're doing, but they will get there. Don't worry about that. The one thing that I noticed that I really liked from those two was not so much in pass protection, but in the run game. Go watch the first play of the game. Now, this happened a few times. I'm telling you right now, the difference in this offensive line from Titus Howard from right tackle to left guard is evident and visible. First play of the game, they take
the one he pancaked the guy and
no. This is the first play of the game. It was not pancake. They took Devon Hamilton and knocked him 7 yards downfield on a double team. And I was like, yo, man, they run block like this. Forget it. They've got to work on some T stunts and ET stunts and some of those things, kind of pass some guys off. They didn't have that clearly down, but that comes with time and synergy, and they'll get back there. I'm not worried about that. But if there's anybody to handle Myles Garrett one-on-one in the best way possible, there's some players when you face him, you're like, man, how are we gonna match up with this guy? A lot of times, if they got an edge rusher, I'm like, we're okay. We're gonna be all right, because I think Laramie can handle zone one-on-one, and I think on the other side, if you got to help Marcus, you got to help Jerron. That's fine, but you don't have to worry about helping both of them, and that's a good thing. So we'll see how it goes, but. Look, I think what we've learned about this team since the time we saw it for good in training camp was they'll play together, they'll play hard, they'll play for one another, and they'll play for this coaching staff.
So they're going to have fun. They're going to enjoy
That's
it.
worth it. That's all worth it. It really is. And I think that camaraderie really comes through in the way they play for each other and with one another.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.